Some NBA players spend years chasing their prime, but these guys hit theirs almost immediately. Malcolm Brogdon is one of the best examples of a player who peaked earlier than people probably realize. When he came into the league in 2016, he was not viewed like some future superstar. He was a second-round pick, a smart college guard, sure, but there were questions about his athleticism, his ceiling, and whether his game would fully translate to the NBA. Then he won Rookie of the Year as the 36th pick. Now, people love to argue about that award because Joel Embiid didn't play enough games to qualify. And yeah, Brogdon wasn't putting up 20 points a night, but calling him one of the worst Rookie of the Year winners ever is honestly too harsh. He wasn't some #1 pick getting unlimited shots on a bad team. He was a rookie who earned real minutes on a playoff team. He was smart, calm, efficient, and barely made mistakes. He averaged around 10 points and 4 assists, but the value was bigger than the box score. He shot 46% from the field, 40% from 3, and 86% from the line. For a rookie guard, that is extremely clean. And then, 2 years later, he had one of the most efficient seasons you'll ever see from a guard. He joined the 50-40-90 club while averaging around 15 points per game. Playing next to Giannis, he looked like the perfect complementary piece. He didn't need the ball all the time. He didn't force bad shots. He didn't turn it over. He just made the right play over and over again. That was the thing with Brogdon. He could do a little bit of everything. He could defend, shoot, pass, finish, and keep the offense under control. He was basically the type of player every good team wants. But Milwaukee had money decisions to make, and his injury history made things complicated. So the Bucks moved him to Indiana in a sign and trade. In Indiana, Brogdon finally got more control of the offense. His numbers went up, and by 2021, he was averaging around 21 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds. On paper, that looked like his true peak. But the problem was, Indiana wasn't really going anywhere. His efficiency dipped, the Pacers started leaning toward a rebuild, and once Tyrese Halliburton arrived, it became obvious they wanted the ball in someone else's hands. Then came Boston. With the Celtics, Brogdon accepted a bench role and became one of the best sixth men in the league. He shot the ball well, defended, gave them stability, and won Sixth Man of the Year. But that ended up being the last major high point of his career. Injuries kept stacking up, including an elbow issue, and teams became more cautious about relying on him long-term. The sad part is Brogdon did almost everything the right way. He accepted roles, played smart basketball, and helped winning teams. But his body never really let him build on the momentum for very long. So when you look back, his career was impressive, but his best stretch came early, and after that, it became more about managing injuries than growing into something bigger. Caris LeVert's career had a similar theme, but for a different reason. Coming out of Michigan, the talent was obvious. He had size, handle, scoring touch, and real all-around skill. But injuries were already a major concern before he even got to the NBA. That's why some teams were hesitant. The tools were there, but the question was always, can he stay healthy? Brooklyn took the chance, and early on, you could see why. LeVert became an important piece for those young Nets teams. He could handle the ball, create shots, score in different ways, and give them a spark when they needed it. Then the playoffs showed what people were excited about. In his first playoff series, he averaged around 21 points per game in under 30 minutes a night. Brooklyn lost, but LeVert looked like someone who might be ready for a bigger role. Then came the bubble. Before the shutdown, he dropped 51 points. Then in Orlando, he put up big numbers again and became one of the few bright spots on an undermanned Nets team. That was the moment people started asking how good he could actually be. Could he become more than just a solid scorer? Could he be a real long-term starter? But his career never got a clean runway. He got traded. He dealt with more health issues. He had the cancer scare after his post-trade physical. And in Indiana, even when he put up bigger numbers, it was mostly on teams that weren't winning. That changed how people viewed him. Instead of being seen as a rising star, he started getting labeled as a volume scorer on bad teams. A guy who could get numbers, but maybe not someone you build around. Then in Cleveland, his role changed again. He became more of a bench scorer, connector, and versatile role player. And honestly, he played that role well. But it wasn't the version people remember most. People remember the Brooklyn flashes, the bubble run, the 51-point game, the idea that he might become something more. That's why LeVert's peak feels so early. His most exciting version came before the league fully figured him out. Once his strengths and limits became clear, he settled in as a useful role player instead of the future star people thought he might be. Now, Sidney Wicks is a name a lot of newer fans probably don't know, but his career fits this topic perfectly. Wicks came into the NBA and immediately looked like a star. As a rookie, he averaged around 24 points and 11 rebounds. That is not normal. Most players need years to build up to those numbers. Wicks did it right away. He had been a major name at UCLA, and by the time he entered the league, he looked NBA ready. He could score, rebound, pass, and defend. He had the full package, and with Portland, he instantly became one of the franchise's first real stars. Within his first 4 seasons, he was a 4-time All-Star. He averaged a double-double and looked like one of the better forwards in the league. But here's where it gets weird. His career didn't collapse all at once. It just kept slowly slipping. Every year after his rookie season, his scoring average went down. Not once, basically every single season until he was out of the league. And even during the years where his stats still looked strong, there were questions about whether his game actually helped teams win. Portland struggled with him as the main guy. Then, after he left, the Trailblazers won a championship. That made the criticism even louder. Some people saw Wicks as talented but not committed to winning. Others thought he cared more about getting paid than being part of a real team. Whether that's fair or not, the narrative stuck. When he got to Boston, things didn't improve. The numbers got quieter, the fit wasn't great, and people questioned whether he really had the mindset of a Celtic-type player. He eventually bounced around and left the league, but the wild part is this. The best version of Sidney Wicks may have been the very first one. At 22 years old, he looked like a star. But instead of building from there, his career just slowly drained out. That's a rare kind of fall-off. Not dramatic, not sudden, just steady decline from day one. Josh Childress is another interesting case because he didn't really fall off from being a star. He fell off from being a really useful NBA role player. Childress was a long, athletic wing with a huge wingspan. Early in his career with the Hawks, he became known as an energy guy. He ran the floor, crashed the glass, finished around the rim, and played his role well. He wasn't a go-to scorer, but he was efficient. In year 2, he shot 55% from the field. In year 4, he shot 57%. That's exactly what you want from a role player who knows where his shots are coming from. But the problem was, his value had a ceiling. Most of his shots came near the basket. He wasn't creating offense like a star. He wasn't a shooter teams had to fear. He was good, but he was still mostly a role player. Then came the decision that changed everything. The Hawks offered him a 5-year deal worth around $33 million. But a team in Greece offered him a 3-year deal worth around $20 million, with major financial benefits, covered expenses, and tax advantages. So from a money perspective, the Greece deal actually made a lot of sense, and Childress took it. At the time, it was a bold move. NBA players didn't usually leave for Europe in the middle of their prime, but he did, and for a while, it worked. He played well overseas and made strong money. The problem came when he returned to the NBA. The league had moved on. His role wasn't waiting for him anymore. The pace, spacing, and expectations had changed. He came back, but he never got back to the same level. Over the next few years, he bounced around, got waived, and eventually continued his career overseas. So Childress didn't peak early because he was exposed as a bad player. He peaked early because he stepped away from his NBA role at the wrong time. He secured the money, which is totally understandable, but he lost the momentum that could have kept him in the league much longer. Chris Duarte came into the NBA older than most lottery picks. When Indiana took him 13th overall in 2021, he was already 24 years old. That's not common for a lottery pick anymore. Teams usually want younger players with more time to develop, but Duarte had something those younger guys didn't. He looked ready immediately. At Oregon, he had become one of the best players in college basketball. He could shoot off the dribble, hit catch and shoot threes, defend, and play with maturity. So the Pacers drafted him thinking he could help right away. And as a rookie, he did. He averaged around 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists while shooting a respectable percentage from 3. He looked polished. He looked calm. He looked like someone who could be part of a rotation for a long time. But that's where the problem started, because when you draft a 24-year-old, the league judges him differently. If a 19-year-old has flaws, teams say, he's young, give him time. But if a 24-year-old rookie has flaws, teams start wondering if that's just who he is. In his second season, Indiana brought in younger guards and wings like Benedict Mathurin, Andrew Nembhard, and Aaron Nesmith. Suddenly, Duarte had competition from players who were younger and had more upside. His minutes dropped, his efficiency dipped, and instead of building on his rookie season, he started losing his place in the rotation. Eventually, Indiana moved him to Sacramento for second-round picks. After that, he struggled to find a consistent role. That's what makes Duarte such a clear example of peaking early. He entered the league with a high floor, but not enough ceiling. His rookie version might have already been close to his best version. And in the NBA, being ready early is great, unless everyone realizes you don't have much more room to grow. Eric Paschall's rookie season was one of those perfect storm situations. The 2019-20 Warriors were completely broken down by injuries. Kevin Durant was gone, Klay Thompson was out for the season. Steph Curry only played a handful of games before breaking his hand. Golden State went from being the dynasty of the decade to one of the worst teams in the league almost overnight. That created opportunity, and Eric Paschall took advantage of it. As a second-round pick, he came in physically ready. He had played at Villanova, had experience in a winning program, and had the strength to bully smaller defenders. Because the Warriors needed bodies, he got real minutes right away, and he produced. He had big games, including a 33-point, 13-rebound performance against Portland, and another 30-point game against New Orleans. By the end of the season, he made the all-rookie first team. For a second-round pick, that's a huge win. But the issue was, his success depended heavily on the situation. When the Warriors got healthier and started trying to compete again, Paschall's weaknesses became harder to hide. He wasn't a reliable three-point shooter. He was undersized for a big, but not quick enough to be a true wing. He was stuck in that awkward in-between position where you're not big enough for one role and not skilled enough for the other. His minutes dropped the next season, and eventually, Golden State moved on. In Utah, he played even less, and then he was waived. Paschall's rookie season was fun, and Warriors fans will remember it because he gave them something to cheer for during a terrible year. But looking back, it feels like his peak was created by circumstance. He was in the right place at the right time on a team that had no choice but to play him. Once that opportunity disappeared, so did his role. Randy Foye entered the league with real hype. In the 2006 draft, people compared him to Brandon Roy. Both were older guards, both had strong college careers, and both looked like they could help teams quickly. Foye went 7th overall, right after Roy, and ended up in Minnesota. But his rookie season didn't hit the same way Roy's did. Roy became Rookie of the Year. Foye came off the bench more and had to prove himself in a smaller role. Still, the talent was there. He could score, play both guard spots, and defend enough to stay on the floor. At the time, combo guards were becoming more accepted in the NBA, so Foye's skill set made sense. But Minnesota never felt fully sold on him. And to be fair, part of that was because fans couldn't stop comparing him to Brandon Roy. After 3 seasons, the Timberwolves moved him to Washington in a deal that eventually helped them land Ricky Rubio. From there, Foye's career became a pattern. He would land somewhere, show flashes, get a role, then have to prove himself all over again. Washington, the Clippers, and other teams used him in different ways, but he never really found one long-term home. Some of that might have been bad organizational situations. Minnesota, Washington, and the Donald Sterling Clippers were not exactly the cleanest environments for player development. But at the same time, Foye never quite became more than a useful guard who could score in stretches. He lasted in the league for years, which deserves respect. But the excitement he had entering the league never really came back. His peak wasn't as obvious as some other players on this list, but his career energy was highest early, when people still thought he could become something bigger. Derek Coleman might be one of the most frustrating players on this list. Because when he came into the league, the talent was obvious. He was 6'10", strong, skilled, and ahead of his time. He could score inside, rebound, pass, defend, and even had range that made people later call him one of the original stretch fours. As a rookie, he averaged around 18 points and 10 rebounds and won Rookie of the Year. That should have been the beginning of a huge career, and for a while, it looked like it might be. With the Nets, Coleman made an All-Star team and earned All-NBA third-team honors. People were talking about him like one of the best power forwards in the league behind names like Charles Barkley and Karl Malone. But then he plateaued. He was still good, but he didn't keep climbing. And with his talent, good almost felt disappointing. The bigger issue was everything around the game. His attitude, conditioning, off-court problems, and conflicts started overshadowing his ability. He had the tools to be one of the best forwards ever, but he never fully put it together. After New Jersey, he went to Philadelphia, but health problems limited him right away. Later in his career, he still had moments where you could see the talent, but they became less frequent. That's what made Coleman's career so frustrating. He wasn't a bust in the normal sense. He played 15 years and had a strong career. But when you see how good he was early, it's hard not to feel like he should have been much more. He peaked early, got paid, and never became the all-time great his talent suggested he could be. Ben Gordon's peak came early, but it was also very specific. As a rookie in 2005, he won Sixth Man of the Year. That is extremely rare. Most top picks are expected to start right away, but Gordon came off the bench and immediately became one of the best scoring reserves in the league. That Bulls team started the season terribly, then turned things around and became one of the best stories in the NBA. Gordon was a huge reason why. He was instant offense. You put him in the game, and he could change the momentum fast. He wasn't a complete all-around guard, but as a scorer, he was dangerous. By year 3, he averaged around 21 points per game while shooting over 40% from 3. Then, in his final season with Chicago, he led the team in scoring again and had a huge playoff series against Boston. That 2009 Bulls-Celtics series made him look like a killer. He dropped 42 in Game 2, 33 in Game 7, and averaged around 24 for the series. Even though Chicago lost, Gordon's shot-making was unforgettable. Then he left for Detroit, and almost immediately, everything went wrong. Detroit was unstable, the locker room was messy, the coaching situation wasn't working, the team wasn't winning, and Gordon wasn't being used the same way he was in Chicago. That mattered because Gordon needed the right role. He was a 6'3" scoring guard without elite playmaking. He was at his best when he could come in, hunt shots, and carry bench units or close games. In Detroit, the fit never clicked. His minutes dropped, injuries affected him, his confidence seemed to fade, and the explosive scoring nights became less common. Looking back, even Gordon has said he regrets not staying in Chicago. And it makes sense. His peak came when he was in the perfect role with the perfect team context. Once that changed, he never got back to the same level. Emeka Okafor's career peaked almost immediately. He entered the NBA as one of the safest prospects in the 2004 draft. Charlotte took him second overall, right after Dwight Howard. And as a rookie, he delivered. Okafor averaged around 15 points and 11 rebounds, won Rookie of the Year, and gave a brand new Charlotte franchise something to build around. But after that, things never really took off. In year 2, injuries hit hard. He only played 26 games, and even though he later bounced back as a solid double-double big, the league started changing. Okafor was a traditional center. He could defend, rebound, block shots, and score near the rim, but he couldn't stretch the floor or create much offense. Once spacing became more important, his value slowly dropped. Then after being traded to New Orleans, his role got smaller, and a herniated disc took away years of his career. So even though Okafor was productive, his rookie season still feels like his biggest moment. His best version showed up right away. Brandon Jennings had one of the loudest starts ever. After skipping college to play overseas, his draft stock dropped a bit, but Milwaukee still took him 10th overall. Then, just 7 games into his rookie season, he dropped 55 points. That game made people think the Bucks had found their next star. Jennings was fearless, flashy, and confident. As a rookie, he averaged around 15 points and 6 assists and helped Milwaukee reach the playoffs. But the problem was efficiency. Jennings could score, but he was never a consistent shooter. For his career, he only shot above 40% from the field twice. His numbers went up, and by year 3, he averaged around 19 points per game, but the efficiency still wasn't there. Later in Detroit, he actually started becoming a better playmaker. But then he ruptured his Achilles, and for a quick, undersized guard, that changed everything. Jennings' peak came fast and loud. People still remember the 55-point game, but he never fully became the star that moment made him look like. Michael Carter-Williams might have had the best NBA debut ever. In his first game, he put up 22 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists, and 9 steals against LeBron's Miami Heat. That game instantly created hype, and his rookie season was strong enough for him to win Rookie of the Year. He averaged around 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists on a rebuilding Sixers team. But the issue was obvious from the start. He couldn't shoot. MCW shot around 40% from the field and 26% from three. At first, teams hoped he would improve, but once he didn't, it became a major problem. Philadelphia traded him to Milwaukee, and the same issues followed him. He had size, defense, passing, and flashes of talent, but without shooting, defenses didn't respect him. After that, he bounced around the league, and his role kept shrinking. That's what makes his career so strange. His debut was legendary. His rookie season won an award, but after that, he was mostly fighting to stay in rotations. For Michael Carter-Williams, the rookie year wasn't the beginning of the rise, it was the peak. So when you look at all these players, the story isn't always the same. Some peaked early because of injuries, some because their first team gave them the perfect role. Some were older rookies who were already close to finished products. Some had one perfect season before the league figured out their weaknesses, and some were genuinely good players, just not the stars people thought they might become. That's the brutal part about the NBA. Getting hot early can change your career, but it can also create expectations that are almost impossible to live up to. Because sometimes, the best version of a player doesn't come in their prime. Sometimes, it shows up right at the beginning. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more NBA stories, career breakdowns, and players whose careers didn't go the way everyone expected.